So we're back with AJ Dalmaso. We had some technical issues. AJ, over to you. Go ahead.
Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay. So can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So as I was saying, we should respect people's pronouns because we all have a preferred pronoun. Either if you're cis or cisgender or transgender. Okay. Also, if you don't know about a person's pronoun, just ask. Ask is fine. Sometimes we think that asking is rude. Well, it might be, but we feel when a question is being asked because the person wants to embrace us. And it's pretty nice. We feel we belong, we feel we're part of everything. So you should always ask if you don't know, okay? And again, I like to emphasize that gender is not as important as we think, okay? Let's try not to gender everything and consider people as genders, okay? So I found this card, which was developed by the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, in the LGBT Resource Center in 2011. And it has been widely reproduced and distributed across the US. And here I decided to show you this because it shows how many options of pronouns we have in the English language. And again, I'm not a specialist. I cannot talk to you about all of them, but I just wanted you to see that we have many more than just the she and he that we usually call people, right? So, and on the back of it, we have a guide, which is basically a practice for us to practice people's pronouns if we're not familiar with that, okay? It really shows empathy and adaptability to people's needs. So it shows the subject, object, possessive pronouns, reflexive, okay? And I really like what it says in the bottom. It says, the pronoun list on the reverse is not an exhaustive list. It's good practice to ask which pronouns a person uses, okay? So it's no excuse to say, oh, I don't know how to use this pronoun. Well, let's practice, okay? So as I'm not a specialist, in all the pronouns, I don't master all the pronouns, I decided to pick the one that we use the most in the English language when we want to use gender neutral language. This is they, the pronoun they, okay? This picture has been posted by J.Lo, okay, on her Instagram account. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it went viral some time ago, some months ago, I think in July. And that's what she posted to her Instagram account. This is Brandon, my sister Leslie's second child. They were the one person selected to represent their school at Global Young Leaders Conference in Washington, D.C. And I couldn't be more proud. Brandon is strong and smart and loving and obviously a leader. Titi Jen loves you. Super proud auntie, familia. Okay. So what catches your attention when you look at this post? In terms of language, in terms of grammar. So think about it. So J.Lo, used gender neutral language. Can you see? Opa, can you see? So she used child, they were, and their school. Now, this image went viral because her haters and also her fans were crazy about it. Her fans were utterly supporting her, saying that she was very inclusive and all, but on the other hand, her haters were criticizing her like crazy, saying that she was using inappropriate language. And I'm here to prove these people wrong. This is not inappropriate language because they is a pronoun that can be used as a singular pronoun, not to specify gender, and it's in accordance with grammar rules. Just like in my biodata, it said, AJ has been an English teacher for 7 years. They hold a CAE and a CELTA and are passionate about teaching and diversity. So they is the pronoun I identify with. If you want to talk about me, like in the third person, you can use the pronoun they, okay? Now, some may argue you can't use a plural pronoun in English to refer to one person. Actually, plural pronouns have already been used this way in English. Singular you, so the you that we use to talk only about one person, right? Or actually the you that we used to talk about more than one person, was resisted at first, just like the singular they is today. But it's been centuries since anybody objected to singular you. Many people come to me and they say, even in Portuguese, they say, but it's so hard. Gender neutral language is so hard. I cannot do it. And I mean, it might be hard at first, but once you switch your minds to gender neutral mode, basically, you can do that. And thing is, the only way language can happen is if we use it. So we need to use the pronoun they, so it's going to become as popular as you, basically, as the singular you. Then some people come to me sometimes and they say, what about she and he? Can I use it to generalize? And I say, well, if you say, for example, a student must use pronouns properly in his or her papers, yeah, you're generalizing in a way, but you're generalizing for only two different types of pronouns. Remember the list, we have so many. So you're only generalizing for male and female. What about the other people? So we should use, a student must use pronouns properly in their papers. So they is very welcome, always, okay? Because using he or she, him and her, his or her can be rather excluding, okay? So whenever we're talking about a person and we are not sure about their gender or anything, or we should use the pronoun they, okay? So the University of Ohio were handing stickers saying that, which is another example of adaptability and empathy. And then you could stick this sticker to your clothes, I don't know, or to your desk to show what pronouns you use. And take a look that we say themself when you're using the singular they, okay? It's not themselves, okay? It's themself. Then, Bruno, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, because I just got a message from Leticia, and then, I don't know, can people hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and people on YouTube can hear you perfectly.
Can people interact? Yeah? No, because I can't see. Yeah, okay.
The link says that it's everything okay.
Can I go on?
Yeah, go ahead.
So sorry. Okay, then there's another badge, which is very inclusive, where you can fill in with your information. Like, for example, this person was Delphine, and their position was, I don't know, they worked in the LGBT center, and then the person's preferred pronouns, like they, them, and theirs. Okay? Then, as I said before, many people come to me and they say, look, it's so hard to use the correct pronoun. I cannot do it. And I'm not judging these people, but there is this campaign, this Canadian campaign called No Big Deal. And it says, my pronoun is a big deal to me. Using it doesn't need to be a big deal for you. So they say, you can use my pronoun without having all the facts about transgender people and issues, without knowing about what my body looks like or which washroom I use, without knowing the whole story about why I use this pronoun, without agreeing with me about everything. So sometimes we feel that we need to know the person's full story to respect them. And no, we don't. Like, if I tell you I'm AJ and I prefer the pronoun they, that's all, okay? It shouldn't be a big deal to you. So we need to really think about that. And you can access this campaign if you want. It's amazing. There are so many, so much work they've been doing. It's amazing. So going on with my list of do's and don'ts. This is pretty common to happen. Don't divide your students or your coworkers or anyone in male and female, okay? It happens very often. And basically, when it happens to me, I know where people expect me to go. They expect me to go to the female side. But inside of me, I think, why, God? Like, why don't we share people or divide people in a different way? For example, instead of using male and female, why not using numbers or pieces of paper, colors, any other, your teachers, you might have many other options. Then I Googled it and I found this link. I can send this to you later, which shows 30 ways of arranging students for group work, and none of them is related to gender. It's amazing. So it's so easy to be inclusive in this way. Just don't use male and female and use your creativity, right? Something else which is really common in the English classroom environment is say boys and girls in reference to the whole group. Now, don't do that. I mean, as I said before, you can see your students from the outside, but you have no idea who they truly are. So instead of saying boys and girls, why not saying everybody or everyone? When we say good morning, for example, this is very typical. We enter the classroom and we say, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. No. Okay, so why not everybody? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Or good morning, you all. Or all. Friends, kids, people, folks, okay? But never use ladies, gentlemen, ma'am, sir, girls, and boys. This is the most controversial one. Don't use guys in reference to everybody, okay? It's rather sexist. And also, don't use he when generalizing, because we do that a lot in Portuguese, but also in English, it's pretty common. So thinking about that, I brought you a video which is going to illustrate what I mean when I tell you all this. So I'd like you to watch the video and pay attention to the adjectives this person uses when they describe their experience, okay?
I bought the newspaper. The person behind the till said, "Thank you, ma'am." And I was like, oh. It was just gutting, to be honest. On the day that I went into the branch to change my name and my gender, I was terrified, to be honest, because when you go in to change your gender in a bank, you have to come out to the branch. Coming out to anyone is a difficult situation. It's very nerve-wracking. You don't know how people are going to react. I wasn't entirely sure what they would need, but actually it was fine. I had brought the right things. But obviously knowing that would have given me a little bit of comfort. But one of the things that we did to change that was actually arrange some training. So we have a training pack that's gone out to all of our branch staff and all of our contact centre staff. For transgender people, we had MX, but we didn't have a whole load of other ones. And actually, especially for people who identify as non-binary, they don't necessarily always want to use the MX title. So we've added 10 other new titles on there that allow customers to choose one that's more appropriate to them. I think training is really important. If people understand the challenges people face, then we can change. Otherwise, nothing's ever going to change if we don't understand each other. Previously, I think that not everybody was as aware of their parts to play on people's journey, and understanding that helps to make that journey that little bit easier.
Okay.
Wonderful.
It's amazing, right? I get emotional every time I watch it. So I love this video So let's talk about my impressions of the videos. You can have your own impressions, but basically what comes to my mind is that this video shows and gathers all the aims I have for my presentation. Basically, it talks about adaptability. Okay, as you saw, they decided to create a training pack for the clients and the employees, and then they decided to change their language. For example, you're adapting to your clients, basically. Also, you talk about the focus, just like along with that, you talk about the focus on, not in this case, not on your students, but on your coworkers, your clients, and everybody. It's amazing. It also uses non-sexist language, which is the inclusive language, okay? And all that to set a more welcoming, empowering, and supportive environment. I think it's the best way to describe what I've been trying to say here, and I hope you understand. So remember, I asked you to pay attention to the adjectives this person used when describing their experience as a trans person, and then the adjectives that caught my attention was when they were describing when they were in the line for the newspaper and they were called ma'am. They said it was gutting, and it's a very strong and powerful adjective to describe something very uncomfortable. And also they said when they were coming out, when they went to the branch to change their name and gender, they were terrified. And also because they were changing their gender and names, they needed to come out to the whole branch. So imagine, it was really nerve-wracking for them. And what amazes me about this video is that they've been so many hard times, such hard times in their life, that they decided to make it different for other people. That's what we call adaptability, right? And adaptability comes when they talk about the training pack they were sending to the clients or to the branches, so people could address the clients and employees in a better way, in a more accessible way. Also, when they talk about the MX, but then they saw that non-binary people might not really identify with MX, so they went after 10 different titles. Like, how amazing is that, right? So 10 different titles so they could address everybody they wanted. Then I decided to get some lines of this person, some things that they said that touched me a lot, and I really consider to be very important, paramount when we talk about this inclusiveness. That is, if we don't understand each other, nothing's ever gonna change, okay? So when you tell me, oh, it's really hard to memorize the pronouns, it's really hard to learn other people's pronouns, you're not helping me to make my life better, I mean, to feel more embraced. And we're not either changing language, right? So we need to understand each other so language changes, and then we can include everybody. Also, they say not everybody's aware of their parts to play on people's journeys. That's what I just said. Sometimes we have no idea how important we are on other people's journeys, but if everybody starts talking about that a little bit, so I don't know, AJ likes the pronoun they, then everybody around me will start using the pronoun they, and I'll feel more empowered to be who I am. And many people will feel empowered. So I truly believe it's important. And also, if we understand it, it helps to make the journey a little bit easier, okay? So life out there is hard enough. So as I said before, sometimes we can only be who we are inside our jobs, inside our workplace, and our schools. So we really need to take this into consideration when talking to other people. Like, how can we embrace them? How can we make them feel supported, right? Then I found the 10 titles HSBC has created, what you can call yourself. So basically you have the MX, which is mix or mux, and the X replaces the N of Mr., Mrs., Ms., and Miss, and leaves a person's gender unstated. We have end of individual, we have the letter M, and then we drop the end of the other words. We have misc for miscellaneous, we have mystery, we have miser, we have mere, that is used in other parts of the world. We have abbreviation of person, which is per, excuse me. We have psi, that is used in Asia. And we have ser, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's used in Latin America. It's a very good way to address people and make no assumptions, right? They have the right to choose the way they want to be called, the way they want to be addressed. Okay? Going on with my list of do's and don'ts, as I said, make no assumptions about sexual orientation. This is called sexual profiling, okay? Then I get often asked this question: teacher, do you have a boyfriend? Then I say, no, I don't, because I have a girlfriend. But what comes to mind when I think about this question is, it makes me feel, and it basically happens in classrooms, but also in family environments, right? So what comes to my mind is, this person is assuming that I have a boyfriend, so I have to conform with what this person expects from me. And how frustrating is that? Because sometimes we are really empowered when we are, I don't know, among friends to say, no, I don't have a boyfriend, I have a girlfriend. But sometimes we're not as comfortable as that. So instead of asking, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Or do you have a husband or wife? Why not asking, do you have a partner? Or are you married? A more general question, right? So, which is easier to do. So are you married? Are you single? Or are you engaged? Are you in a relationship? These are simple ways we can get used to, so we include more people in our speech, and then we don't expect anyone to give any type of answer. They're going to talk about what they want to talk about, okay? Then I decided to create some practice for us to see how familiar we are with gender-neutral language. So, for example, I took this from a booklet of rules for professors, and it says, a professor should correct his students' papers according to the set of predetermined guidelines. What is wrong with that? What is not so inclusive about it? As I said, many people use he to generalize, right? So instead of saying that, you can make a professor plural and also change the pronoun. So professors should correct their students' papers according to this set of predetermined guidelines. The next one was taken from a history book. School book. It says, from the beginning of time, mankind used horses in one way or another. What's the matter with this sentence? What makes it not so inclusive? So instead of saying mankind, why not using humankind or humans? I don't know. So from the beginning of time, humankind used horses in one way or another. Then we have part taken from a listening exercise, and it says, are there any freshmen who would like to work in the writing center? So how can you change it to make it more inclusive and more gender neutral? Instead of saying freshmen, this one is a little bit trickier, but instead of saying freshmen, why not saying, are there any first year students who would like to work in the writing center? These words are very simple and we use them very often. And sometimes we have no idea how excluding they could be, right? So that's why I brought you some tips of keywords that we might use every day, talking to our students or to foreigners or anything that we could avoid, and then some words that we could use instead, okay? So I think, so I have this word here. So instead of saying women and men, why not using people and humans? Instead of using businessman, why not using business person? Mailman, mail career. Instead of using mankind, why not using humans or people? Instead of using policeman, why not using police officer? Salesman, sales clerk, or sales rep. and waiter. Why not using server? Okay, very simple words we use every day, like woman, man, salesman, waiter, could be much more inclusive if we use gender neutral language, right? So that's it. I like to sum up my presentation. Okay, so first thing is students are the focus. So not only students, okay, but people around us are the ones to tell us who they are and what they need. We need to be open to that, okay? Assumptions are not welcome. We need to forget our fixed opinions and ideas about things, and we need to be here to embrace people around us, okay? Not only students, people in general, okay? The third is gender is not that important. There are so many features a person has, and gender shouldn't be the one we care the most about. Okay, we need to be open to listen to our students. And that's my last point. So listen, okay? People around us and our students have a lot to tell us. We need to be here to listen and embrace them. Remember, we don't need to agree and accept. We just need to respect, okay? Thank you. Questions?
Okay, we have a couple of questions, AJ, but we don't have time for all of them, so I'm gonna select the first that came. Just
well, anyone can. So I'm gonna show you my email. So anyone who would like to send me an email with the questions, that's fine. Okay. Also my WhatsApp.
Well, Hosanna wants to know if using gender neutral language is easier in English. So how should we properly address students in Portuguese? Do you have any tips for when addressing people in Portuguese?
Yeah, thing is, Portuguese is rather sexist.
They're much more sexist than English, right?
Yeah, it is. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can look. How do I do that? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, can you see me? Yeah. Okay. So basically what I do is instead of saying ele ou ela all the time, you can repeat the name of the person. So Bruno is tanana, or AJ is tanana. Or also instead of using adjectives, we can turn the adjective into a verb. So we don't need to incline the adjective to like bonito or bonita, right? Like uma pessoa com beleza, uma pessoa com, I don't know, the adjective. This is something we can... What is that, Bruno?
Yeah, just try. I was saying that we should just try to look for techniques and ways to not to
That's
become.
Language becomes a little longer, but we can do it. Like it's really possible. It's really possible.
So let's go for another one. Leticia wants to know, do you see a problem with teaching the gender neutral options straight away? For example, when teaching family members, skipping dad or mom, teaching parent only. Has this been, and she said that's been a great talk.
Thanks. Thank you. So I think it might be a little embarrassing, I'd say, in the beginning, but I always try to ask, like, what types of families are there? And then if they don't come up with this language, like, I don't know, there are like 2 fathers or 2 mothers or everything, I bring basically the language and I say, okay, aren't there families like with both mothers or like a single parent family and stuff like that? I try to do that, but of course there are some classrooms and we have to feel our students. I don't know. I think we always need to feel our students and how they will react to that.
Yeah. There's another question, the last one from Danielle. She says, how should we ask about preferred pronouns in class, especially when it's not common in the culture to do that? And when students' understanding of L2 may make it difficult?
Thing is, if a person doesn't come to you and say, look, I'm trans, or I have some gender matters, it's hard. I know it's hard, but that's why I think we should expect this specific person to come to us before class or anything and say, look, I'd like to be called like this. or my pronouns are this, this, and that, okay? Or if you feel there's some discomfort, I don't know, you can come like at the end of the class and say, look, have I done anything that I should do differently, for example? Like, did I offend you in any ways? Like, we should be open. And it won't be natural. I know it won't be that natural, but it becomes more natural with time.
Yes, wonderful, AJ. It's been a lovely presentation. I always love to watch you speaking, you know that. Thank you very much for devoting your time.
Thank you all for watching me, and then you can come to me and ask the questions you want to ask on Facebook or anything. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. For the people who attended AJ presentation, please click on the link that I'm going to be sending you so that you can get your certificates, okay? Oh, it's not going because it's not possible to share links. Oh, God. We'll be sending this to you, okay? So we're now having a break, like the lunch break, and we'll be back at, let me just confirm. It's at 2 p.m., right? 2 p.m. we have the BrELT chat out in the ELT industry on being an LGBT plus teacher, multiple positioning, and then issues we face with Tyson Seaburn and Natalia Afonso. So see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, everyone.